Hey guys, welcome back. Ricky here. Alright, so we are continuing our series on the 320 Sharpen Pro. This is the first sharpening I'm doing on this stone here, so I'm very excited. I've actually never used the 320 grit on the Sharpen Pro, so I'm quite curious as to how it compares to the Sharpen Glass 320. As you guys may have seen some of the videos on the Sharpen Glass, I absolutely love the Sharpen Glass stone, at least the Sharpen Glass 320 at this point. So I'm really, really curious to see how this will compare in terms of cutting speed and raw performance and feedback and tactile feel. All right, so we're just gonna hop right into it. This is my Zwilling Pro chef knife here. This here is a splash and go. So I'm gonna splash water in it right before we start, and I'm gonna dull the knife on my brick, run it 20 times, and just so you guys see exactly what we're gonna be doing. We're going to flatten the stone really quickly. We're not flatten it. I'm just going to run the stone through with the 400 Atoma just to make sure that we get any of the kind of surface imperfections off of the stone. I've got a Managara 1000 there for backup in case I need to clean the stone with. I also have my rust eraser. This actually is at least on the other two stones, this is actually better cleaner than the Nagara because it doesn't wear down very quickly. And because it is harder, it actually can get a lot of the load up off faster as well. And my fingers, if you guys have seen, but by this point I've done so many dozens of sharpening videos, and my fingers are just getting banged up. So I just taped them up. I can't find my medical tape, so this is my gaffer's tape, which I don't know how well it'll hold up with water, but it'll work for now. I'm sure it'll last at least one sharpening. So yeah, that's why I've got my fingers taped up. No, there's no cuts on my fingers or anything. They're just a little rough and raw from doing so many sharpening videos. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is we will run the knife on the brick 20 times, and as you guys know, 20 times will completely dull this knife. Okay, here we are. Okay, so now I'm gonna get some water on this stone. So it's a true splash and go. You can see there's no water absorbing into the stone at all. Water's just sitting on the edge, or beating on the edge now. Okay. So when you're flattening your stone, whether you're using the Atoma or DMTs or anything else, just make sure you apply as little weight or pressure on the stone as possible. Okay, so I like to let the stone sit on the stone, or the stone sit on the stone, or the plate sit on the stone, and I kind of just grab the sides and I move it up and down. Okay, so this will ensure that you put no weight onto the stone itself. Now we'll get the sides. Just a few strokes. Okay. Okay. Now we do a few more strokes, just light strokes. Okay, so that should have gotten rid of any imperfections on the surface of the stone. Again, you guys can see very, very little slur here, which is shouldn't really hamper the life of the stone at all at this point. Yeah, the stone pretty much feels the same as it did before. It's every bit smoother. It's, again, we're removing a lot of the imperfections that stones get when they're leaving the sharpening factory or the stone cutting factory. So, and you don't have to do it. If you don't have a flattening stone, you absolutely can just get the stone, use it the day you guys get it. You don't have to flatten it at all. I just do it from out of habit, and also because I'm sharpening so many stones, I want to make sure that all the stones are treated as closely as possible, so that we can have a more objective opinion of the stones as I use them. But as you guys can see, very beautiful stone. I mean, I love the way Sharpen Pros look. They have this really nice two-tone, three-tone look to them. A lot of depth and just a very cool looking stone. Tighten this thing down. And for those who guys have not seen them, they're actually quite flat. Okay, very, very flat stones. I think this is about 15 millimeters or so. And yeah, I mean, just very beautiful stones. All right, got my little stone holder. All right, here we go. Okay. So far the stone actually is really nice. It has a nice responsive, really nice crisp feel to it. I actually am quite surprised as to how good the stone currently feels right now. Okay, so that was 2 passes. I think we're very, very close to moving on. Okay, yeah, that was 3 passes and we are good to go. All right, so we're going to turn this around. And you can see there's some gray slur developing there, and that's really just the metal from the knife. That's really not from the stone itself. Yeah. Okay, so you guys heard me grind the spine of the knife, and as you guys can see, the spine is actually quite thick, and you guys see where the where the bolster comes, where the bolster is. It's a partial bolster, but the spine itself is really, really thick, and it actually goes past beyond the edge of the blade here. So that's why you might hear a grind once in a while, and that's just because of the way the knife is designed. So to compensate for that, you have to turn the knife a little bit further than perpendicular. Or you go with a left-handed sharpening, which is difficult for most folks. So I'd recommend just taking your time, and if you guys are sharpening the very tip here, just lift the knife up just a little bit higher, maybe a millimeter or 2 higher, just so you guys can avoid hitting the spine. It won't really damage the stone all that much if you guys do it once in a while, but you don't want to make a habit of it because you can grind the stone down, especially the corners down, too quickly. Or not, yeah, the corner here. I believe that was that 1 or 2 passes, but anyways, we'll figure that out in a second. That was my dog. Okay, that was 2 passes. I think we're ready to go. Yeah, there's a nice burr development, very good micro burr, not too aggressive. And I want to make sure that I develop a very consistent burr, not how big the burr is, okay? And so the finer the burr, the better when you're developing burrs, because when you have a burr that's too thick or too obvious, it can make sharpening a little bit more difficult, especially when you're trying to remove that burr. And yeah, so take your time, develop a very fine burr. So that's why applying light pressure is very important. Okay, so now we are going to do some stropping. And this will be just like in all my other videos. I'll go with 10 strokes and see how the knife feels. And then we'll go on from there. Okay. Let me go another 6 strokes. Okay. Now we'll go 16 strokes on the other side. Okay, so now we'll go 14 strokes. All right, now we'll go 14 strokes on the other side. Okay. Yeah, the stone's holding up really nicely. As you guys can see, there is virtually no load up here. So very expected of Sharpen Pros. All right, now we're gonna go 12 strokes. Okay, now we'll go 12 again. Okay, yeah, the edge is coming together very nicely. We're gonna go 10 strokes. Okay, 10 strokes. Now we'll go 8 strokes. Okay. Now we'll go 6 strokes. right, now we'll go 4 strokes. Now we'll go 2 strokes. We'll do that a couple times. Okay, now we'll go 1 stroke. We'll do that 3 times. Okay, and there's really no exact science to stropping, how many strokes you have to do. I typically go 10, and I'll reduce that number by 2 every time I turn the knife back to the to the first side. And so that's just a way for me to make sure that the burr that's very aggressive in the very beginning will slowly stand up straighter and straighter. So by the time I'm stropping down to 1 stroke, the burr is actually standing straight up on its end at this point. Okay, so that's what it looks like under a microscope. Very exaggerated, but that's the idea. Alright, so let's dry this knife off real quick, and then we'll do a quick cut test and see how the edge is from the stone. All right. You guys knew this was coming, right? All right, here we are. All right, let's see how this stone performs. So it's okay. I mean, the edge is, it's good. I wouldn't say it's a great edge. And well, I'm also cutting on really crappy paper, and that's damp. And the knife is also slightly damp, but it was this knife was able to cut this paper with the Sharpen glass 320. Okay, so it's still cutting. It's just not as crisp, as clean as the Sharpen glass 320 stone. So let's try some slightly better paper. All right, so I did say slightly, so let's see here. Okay. Okay, so here's the result. This knife here is heat treated to a 55 on the Rockwell scale. I know that Zwilling will say that it's 55 to a 58. It's 55, okay? Because I know that in the kitchen, this knife will go dull in about 3 days of use, of regular use. And my Wüsthofs, which are heat treated to a 57, will last for about a week. Okay, so these are definitely 55 on the Rockwell scale. All right, so overall, I mean, again, let's just make sure, so we understand this stone here is not the stone that you will stop on. Okay, so this is really a reprofiling stone. My goal here is not to get the sharpest edge possible. My goal here is to show you guys the load up, the characteristics of the stone while it's sharpening, how it feels, and what the finished edge is. Okay, so in terms of the way it feels, it actually is a really nice feeling stone while you're sharpening. Okay, it has a really nice crisp feel to it. It does have a good response. It does tend to, at this point, it does, you can see that it does wear relatively quickly compared to the Sharpen glass stone. Okay, so mainly because it's not as dense of a stone, and because it is a core stone, these stones are meant to take down knives profiles a lot quicker. So when you have a stone that is designed for that, typically they do wear down a little bit faster. So nothing out of the norm there. In terms of the edge itself, it's clean. It's just not very, very clean, as you guys may have seen from the cut. It does cut the paper, which is not the the easiest thing to do, considering how wet my hands are and how bad the newspaper is. But this paper is fairly dry, but just not very easy to cut, and because it is ever so well, it's wrinkled and it's just old paper. But the edge is not as clean as the Sharpen Pro glass, not the Sharpen glass. So overall, decent edge, just not going to be your obviously not going to be your finishing stone. And this, you definitely would want to move on from this stone. Hey, so I wasn't quite satisfied with the edge here, because I figured this would it would have to be at least as fine, if not finer, than the 120. And I got the 120 to cut, the knife to be cutting on the newspaper fairly well on the 120 stone. And so what I did was I took the tape off, because the tape, I think, may have skewed my results a little bit, kind of, maybe lose some tactile feel. And so I took my tape off. I'm going to touch the stone up, so I'm going to take my my rusty razor here, just clean the stone a little bit, pull any of the nasty grit off the stone. And so it feels pretty good right now. And again, I haven't touched it since the diamond plate on the 400. And I'm going to do a few, just another minute of stropping, and then I'm going to do another cut test to see if the results are better without the tape. Okay. So I'm going to go 3 on each side, and then 2 on each side, and then 1, and I'll do about 3 to 4 times each. Okay. Okay, I'm down to my 2 strokes. I'll do that a few times. I'm going very gentle because this is a very coarse stone. I want to make sure that I don't press, unnecessarily into the stone and cause the edge to be disturbed. Okay, now we're going into 1 stroke. Okay. All right, so the edge does feel cleaner. Let's do a quick dry off here. Some paper. All right, my hands are a little damp, as usual. All right, so let's try this cut test again and see how the edge is now. It's a big crinkle there. Yeah, so much better. Let's pull that piece off. Yeah, so fairly fine cut, as you guys can see there. Okay, so it does cut much better now that I took the tape off and re-stropped the knife. So yeah, the tape was that was gaffer's tape. That was the first time I used it. I never used gaffer's tape before, and it seemed to have messed up my feel of the stone a little bit. So as you guys can see, it does cut fairly well. It is show you here. Yeah, so the feathering is quite nice, and these are curved cuts, so they're a little bit tougher on the edge. And again, this is a 320 grit stone, so I'm not expecting this to be razor sharp, but it does produce a very clean edge from edge to edge. And yeah, so the results are much better now that I took, sharpened it with my natural hands without anything covering them. So you see the cuts are fairly fine, and yeah. So, all right. So hopefully that makes a lot more sense. In case you guys are wondering, why is this so much coarser than the 120 stones, when the 120 stone was able to produce a pretty clean cut. All right. So yeah. So I had to clarify that. I just wasn't quite happy with the results of of just what I was getting. And so yeah, so I mean, taking tape off my hand did help a lot. So now I'm just have to be extra careful and not sharpen too much. Or, this will also keep me from applying any sort of pressure on the edge at this point. So yeah, thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.